At the moment I'm recording this, the 2020 NBA draft is about 42 hours away. But by the time you listen to this, it could be 36 hours away, it could be 24 hours away, it could be less than that, or you could be watching this about an hour before the draft. But no matter what, it is time to discuss who the Hawks should take with the 6th overall pick in the 2020 NBA draft this Wednesday night. Or could the Hawks trade up or trade down? Just last season, the Hawks took advantage of having 3 first-round picks and traded up to get DeAndre Hunter, and they got Cam Reddish. And 2 years ago, they originally drafted Luka Doncic, 3rd overall, and the Mavericks originally drafted Trae Young. And eventually, those two teams, they swapped draft picks. So now Luka Doncic is on the Mavericks and Trae Young is on the Hawks. And right now, I think the Mavericks are kind of winning that trade right now because Luka Doncic is, I think, a top 10 player in the NBA. And I think Trae Young could eventually become a top 10 player in the NBA as well if the Hawks can draft a supporting cast around him. Kind of like what the Mavericks did by getting Kristaps Porzingis. And I think adding Porzingis to the Mavericks roster, I think that elevated Luka Doncic. It elevated his game because he had someone to be on his supporting cast. And the Hawks, I think they did a solid job on that, but I still think they're just lacking in size. And that is what I want to get to. Could the Hawks possibly trade up from 6 maybe 2 to Golden State to get James Wiseman? This is something I think the Hawks should try going for. Because Lloyd Pierce, he was on the Warriors coaching staff at one point. Even though it was nearly a decade ago, I still think that chemistry, I think it could be helpful in trying to invest in a trade. Now, I'm not sure if the Warriors are going to be interested in that because they have the 2nd overall pick and they have a team that's on the rise. Maybe the Warriors realize maybe we don't really need the talent this year, but maybe we could use it or possibly trade the pick, maybe trade down a little bit. It really depends on what the Warriors are thinking on Wednesday night. But I think trading up for James Wiseman, if they were to trade up from 6 to 2, and then possibly throw in a first-round draft pick for next season, have the Hawks give the Warriors their first-round pick in 2021. Because to me, I'm thinking out of this NBA draft class, there's probably only maybe 6 to 8 of these prospects that I think could be some of the stars in the league. And I know it's not saying much, but in my defense, we didn't really get to see anyone really elevate their draft stock due to not having March Madness. But I think there's not really many prospects that I think are going to be instant game changers. In fact, I'm thinking the only instant game changers are probably going to be 5 of those 6 to 8 are probably going to be the top 5 picks, because I'm anticipating that the top 5 is going to be LaMelo Ball to the Timberwolves at 1, James Wiseman to the Warriors at 2, Anthony Edwards to the Hornets at 3, Denny Avdija at 4 to the Bulls, and Obi Toppin at 5 to the Cavs. So who should the Hawks take at number 6? Well, even though I said there's really only 6 to 8 prospects that could be instant game changers, maybe the Hawks are going to end up drafting one of those prospects that they could evolve with time. Possibly 2 suggestions could be Killian Hayes or maybe Tyrese Haliburton. Either way, if the Hawks were to draft either of those 2, I feel like that Trae Young can have his game elevated because they can line up behind Trae in the depth chart or they can line up alongside him. Because right now, I think the objective for the Atlanta Hawks, I think they're trying to build up an Eastern Conference Warriors team. And I think that's able to be accomplished right now with what they're currently doing. You have Trae Young at your point. You've got Kevin Huerter as your shooting guard, who is shooting just over 41% for his career so far in his first 2 seasons. So that is really great, and that's hopeful. But if you want to draft one of those 2, really elevate Trae Young's game, even elevate Kevin Huerter's game. But I think what the Hawks need to do is to focus on size. And I think James Wiseman is something they need to do. Trading up for James Wiseman. Just think of a front five, well, a starting five for the Hawks. You have Trae Young at the point. You have Kevin Huerter at the shooting guard position. You've got John Collins, power forward. And then you would have DeAndre Hunter at the small forward position, and you would have Cam Reddish lining up behind him in the years to come. And you would have James Wiseman at center. I think that's a really good starting five if you're the Atlanta Hawks moving forward in the years to come. Because what they'll have in common is they're all pretty young. The Hawks have a young team right now. But you give them time to evolve, give them time to master their craft in the game, I think this could be a future championship contender. Not only a playoff contender, but maybe a championship contender. And on another thing, the Hawks, could they possibly sign a veteran in the free agency process? I wouldn't throw that out of the question as well. Because if the draft goes well for the Hawks and they're able to get maybe a veteran or two in free agency, maybe this Hawks team could make a run for the playoffs if the team would stay healthy. Because Trae Young missed some time last year. And I think if Trae Young stays healthy, if everyone stays healthy as a whole, I think the Hawks could really contend for a playoff spot this season and possibly even in contention for a championship maybe 5 to 7 years down the line. Because LeBron James, he's going to retire soon. He's getting older. Even Steph Curry is going to retire soon. He's getting older. All the players that we know that are currently the best in the league, they're going to get older in the years to come. They'll eventually retire. But the Hawks, long term, if they master another NBA draft like I think they did last year, we can see the Hawks hoisting the NBA Finals trophy possibly within the next decade, if not 7 years from now. So, comment your thoughts down below. Like, share, and subscribe. Although before I do stop the recording, I should possibly note that Anthony Edwards, he wants to play with Trae Young. Word on the street is, it was rumored earlier in the year that Anthony Edwards would love to be a Hawk. So I also would maybe throw out possibly the Hawks trading up to get Anthony Edwards. That would also benefit the Hawks. So I will talk to you next time. See you later.